Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Let's start a new game. Hopefully you'll manage to play some good chess. It's gonna be 10 plus 5 today. No team in mind. We play against 37-7, which is not, the hardest, but we definitely should never underestimate our opponent. He plays d4, very boring stuff. And I feel a bit frisky today. I want to play something unorthodox. Let's go for knight f6 first. Okay, it still looks a bit normal, but I'm gonna go for a g6 system where T shadow the bishop. And he goes for London. Ooh, we don't like London. Ay, ay, ay. This is always a very tricky opening because White's essentially asking, yeah, do you want to draw? And okay, you know what? Let's just, do what our previous move mentioned, which is to, extend the diagonal of the bishop. So essentially, you know, White is playing a London system while we are playing the King's Indian system, and we are actually kind of automatically doing the moves. And I guess I'm not sure if this is the best move, but in terms of chess, it's definitely satisfactory to just play c5 here, challenging the center. Knight f6, bishop d7, and rook c8 is definitely a fine system to play, and our opponent is also just playing on his autopilot, let's say, and not wanting to make anything too forcing. So knight c6 is definitely a move. Knight c6 is definitely a move. We also have bishop f5 compare, paired with knight c6 could be very detrimental. And knight f5 makes sense in terms of the fact that he put the bishop on e2, leaving this instead of d3, leaving this long diagonal open. So it does make sense to put the bishop there. Downside is that the bishop could already be attacked, so I'm not really sure if that's really that smart. But he might not do it. I'm not sure. We also have a6 b5 ideas. And there's a lot beneath the surface here. There's a lot beneath the surface. So knight c6, let's say castles. You have also c4 ideas, by the way, for whites. We also have knight h5, which makes total sense because you want to get rid of his best bishop. And I quite like that move because it also opens up our bishop. But I don't like the move because we allow e4. We allow e4, e5 is coming, because then this is just unprotected as hell. Yeah, but e4 is coming to begin with, actually. E4 is coming to begin with. Can we stop it? Well, we can play d4. We could play d4, but then this pawn would be hanging. And thematically, when we take here, we'll take with the e-pawn. That's what London players do. So, my assessment after a 2-minute think is knight h5, e4, I take. So knight h5, he goes probably back, then we take like this. We could also wait a little bit first. Knight c6, castles, then go knight h5, and if he goes back, this is a lot stronger now that the rook is no longer on the h file. But after knight c6, there's a possibility he plays c4. But then we take, and play d5, takes, and the position looks fine. Yeah, so knight c6, our first initial thought, which, uh, it was the first thing that came to mind, is the move we play, but now we have a plan with it. Because now we were playing this, we play this. If he takes like this, he opens up this. Now he lost his best piece, which was his bishop, and yeah, I'm pretty happy. So Now we need another plan. Now we need another plan. So his plan now is to play and push for e4. We should kind of stop that, right? We also assessed that previously. So after takes, he cannot play e4, and after takes, we can play d5. We can also play d5 here, but then we lose the pawn. I'm not really sure what to do there. Maybe queen a5, but then b5. So if we go here, takes here, here, it's not sure. I'm not sure how to regain the pawn effectively. So I'm gonna, play it simple. I'm gonna take, then play d5. Hopefully play a4 at some point. And also play e4 at that point. And if he goes here, he's still threatening this. So I'm gonna, you know, take at the center now. I'm gonna fight for the center now with the move d5. All right. I want to play bishop f5, but is that a good move? Hmm. We also have e5. Takes. We can also prepare it with rook e8, but there's no need to prepare it. This does leave us with an isolated pawn. Not sure. Bishop f4 looks reasonable. Knight h4. Here, takes. Let's play rook e8, because that's where the rook belongs, I feel. Bishop here and a6, takes. Also seems very reasonable. And maybe we can play a5, bishop a6. So it goes there. Usually you play c5 in these types of positions. Maybe you go here first. That's also possible. So the attack is definitely on the pawn. But he also opens up the diagonal for the queen. So yeah, very good move. Can play c5 immediately, but takes. Can also play queen c7 first, which is the move, I think. And then c5. c5, hopefully, maybe he wants the pawn. But moreover, to just break the position, it's usually what you are looking for in these types of openings. I think we played it before already, this position. But yeah, since we have another c5 pawn, why not? Since we have another c pawn, why not go for it again? So there, makes sense. And this is annoying because we cannot really break with e4 anymore, but c5 nevertheless, we could break. We could also be patient because he's not threatening anything seriously. Why he's threatening g5, maybe. He's turning this to go for this. That's actually quite annoying. That's actually quite annoying. So what to do? What to do? We could take in that case, but then rook takes, and what do we have? c5, we could break, but we don't have the bishop in place yet. Also, after knight g5, we have f6. Looks ugly, but it works. It seems to work indeed, because you cannot go here and take. Yeah, everything's so this is not a threat. This is definitely not a threat. So now our candidate moves become a5 and a c5. And his candidate moves I don't really see. Maybe one of these moves. And they both seem fine. But the point of a5 is to put the bishop on a6. Yes, we're controlling a lot of squares, but what does it really do? Well, maybe the queen wants to go to d3, right? So let's say a6. If you go a5, queen d3, and we go here, we develop with tempo. Still doesn't do that much, but it's something. Nevertheless, c5 is also a move. And the bishop is kind of in a way because both rooks are unprotected. So I like a5 first. It's intuitively very good. It doesn't feel bad to go bishop a6. Develop the bishop on the long diagonal. He goes there. That makes sense. And now if you go here, ooh, you can take the rook, which is precisely the downside of my move. Queen f5 I definitely missed. So let's go here. b7. It's a suboptimal square, actually. But we have to defend the pawn. Yeah, we have to defend the pawn. He attacks the pawn, we defend the pawn. And next move we go c5. So yeah, we missed queen a5. Should have spotted it, because this is a target for him to attack. And our opponent is playing a very well fought game up until now. Question is, how do you continue? Here, we already strike with c5. And if takes, okay, we probably just retake. We might bring the rook into the game, any rook. But our strike of e5 is just becoming more and more distant, it seems. So let's play c5. He attracts the queen. What does it do? Not much. Play c5. It's what we've been aiming for the whole time. And c5 doesn't really turn into anything, because after takes, we can still not, win a piece. He goes there. So if takes, he takes with the pawn, obviously. Obviously. No, well, now the bishop here is feeling a bit misplaced. Could put it here on the longer diagonal. Um, yeah, I'm getting quite itchy in this position as well. We can also play a4. This pawn stays protected, and after takes, you know, it just feels good to play. A move like a4, the rook is still protecting it, and already in its place. And now he already resorts to weaker moves like a3. Maybe it's not a weak move at all, but it doesn't feel like the best move at all. But downside is, of course, that we now not can play this move anymore. And our opponent is also just playing on our clock, since we're getting low on time. But let's just stay calm, because it's 10 plus 5. So after takes, we are getting into an endgame. Takes. And, we're not sure who that favors. And let's go back to go here. That's also an option, because a bishop here is essentially not doing anything. I think it's best to re-guide our piece to a much better square, if that makes any sense. It's okay, we're on the long diagonal, but it's not gonna do anything on the long term. I think. It might also be just a bad move, what I just did, but in terms of practicality, I guess, our bishop is a worse piece. Our worse piece should be improved. And on the long term, hopefully, we have some good play with the bishop here, as opposed to his two knights. So I'm pondering if this is a valid move. He obviously is lining up the rook and the queen, maybe to attack this. But I feel like f3 and e4, e5 could be at some point a really good move. We can also close things down with this. And I quite like that. We are closing up the position. We play the bishop here, and we have a pretty strong position in that. And we did not calculate it, however, which is, kind of the downside what we just did. But if we get our bishop on f5, then blockade everything. Should be good. Bishop f5 over here. Along with these two moves, could be very strong. Bishop h6. h6 is also a move on the board at some point. I'm feeling quite comfortable in this position. Even though we're down to 1 minute on the clock, but it is what it is. Also, we're stopping a diagonal for the queen, I just realized. The queen might have wanted to go to b5. Attack this again. So now he goes there. And again, bishop h6 is something I want to play in this position, but it's not possible yet. But I could make it possible via h5, knight g5, h6. We could try, but we can also just, play positionally first. Play positionally first, and then think about anything else. Then think about everything else. h5, definitely a move to consider. Oh, he has g4 here. g4 takes, knight takes. Ooh, that's actually not that good. And if you go here, yes, knight. Yeah, 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 yeah. I fucked up. I fucked up here a little. I fucked up here a little. I should have played h5 first. Now we just go back. Now we just go back, or we go here. That's also possible. So now we're purely playing on intuition now. Hopefully we don't get smacked in the face of this because of this mistake. Oh, he sacks. He actually sacks. And he gives up another piece. What's going on? What is going on? 20 seconds on the clock. Our opponent sacks the rook. And now sacks the knight. Is this gonna be a brilliancy? Or is this a pure blunder? I think it's a pure blunder. The rook is protected, luckily for us. And now we just march up full rook. What? What? Our opponent played an awesome game and then just started sacrificing out of nowhere for no apparent reason. And now he's just gonna resign or something. I don't know. I'm up a pawn. No, I'm not up a pawn. I'm basically up a pawn. Come on, this is bad pawn structure. Okay, we have 3 pawn islands. He has a lot of targets. But I like these pawns restricting, you know, his pawns. We play rook d8 and everything is kind of fine. Here we play even rook b8. Well, actually, rook a b8 was much better. But you get the point. Like, if he goes back and we take here, like, we blunder the rook back. So that's not... We wanted... I might even go back, because this is not the way to play it. Yeah, but our opponent definitely not giving up. With good reason, you could just go queen f3, and if I take... Could take a8, but after queen f3... I gave up. Alright. Yeah. So pretty good game by our opponent until, he started doing stuff. So we played a King's Indian against a London. Ideas usually in King's Indian is something like rook e8, and e5, but we went for a more subtle c5 and knight c6. Usually, what I often see is that the knight gets developed to d7 and then c5, and if so here c5 and he pushes for d5, which is not possible in this particular instance. There are some possibilities where the knight could jump into here because the pawn is no longer here, but not in these type of systems. I'm just trying to showcase it. It's definitely not good in this position. We go knight c6, which is probably not the best. Castles and bishop and knight h5. So even though it's not the best move, we had a plan. We executed that plan, and look at this now. Even though it might not have been good, it still looks good. I think c4 is a possible continuation. No, that's also not good. I don't see how this is good for white, actually. We could later see this. Because after here, I could just take. But doing anything else is going to be very difficult as well. Oh, I see why this is bad. You can play d5 here. Ah, d5, I missed. Because now the knight on f6 jumping to h5 is no longer controlling d5. Yeah. By the way, we're analyzing without an engine, but with the eval bar. And the eval bar gives us an idea of how the position could have continued. But I missed d5. But we got a good position nevertheless. Go there. Challenge this. Queen c7. This all feels fine. a5. Apparently there was something here, which gives us a slight edge. And I think it's the immediate c5. Whatever it takes. Nothing much is going on. I guess queen takes. Yeah. What else? Well, there's e6, but that's just a stabilizing move. a5 I plates. What else? There's also f6. There's also f6. And engine seems to like it, because after knight e3, you have e4. Takes, and you're already threatening e5, e4. That actually makes a lot of sense. Did not think of it. But I'm glad we found it. c5, a4, maybe not the best move, but it looks quite menacing to deal with. Bishop back, also not the best move. What is the best move here? Because we have a positional lead. I think again it's gonna be the f6 e5 maneuver. Maybe not immediately, I guess, but definitely getting close. We also have something like this. And now white finds a new home here, but we get some massive compensation by putting the bishop back. And let's say he makes a move, and we get this here. The position overwhelm is just very big. He obviously is not going to do that. But it makes sense to go for something like that. Here we made a mistake. We actually had a winning position here. Wow. But I managed to just always screw up in winning positions and bit this, after which g5 was really strong. And now he's just better, I think. He's better because I thought he was better actually. But I'm not really sure why. Because I think he wants to play f3 at some point, and then the bishop is kind of right? So a way to get rid of it is knight g5. Just going for this bishop already. And now you're already threatening the bishop. The bishop has nowhere to go. Yeah, you can play f6, but it's not helping that much. After takes. Is it helping? Takes. Not sure what's going on here. Wait, we take here. Why do we? So that doesn't make sense. So he gets to reroute the knight, but even here, the position gets kind of hard to play. It's a very interesting one because after knight c5, we might even play e4. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. But this looks quite nasty. Here takes. Queen g5 maybe? No, there's no point. But still, I prefer to be black here rather than white. Anyways, this didn't happen. He set the rook. And yeah, here's everything is just simple. There was a little trick here for white to go here. It doesn't work, if black knows what he's doing, but if you take here, obviously, you get a rook back and you play this, even though this is still better for black because of the pawn structure, I think, and a more active rook, and this very bad rook. Uh, it's not easy to play out, I would assume. Well, actually, you have, like, let's say white makes a random move. We already have this move, I thought. Oh, wait. Yeah, rooks can move backwards as well. So that's not a move. That's not a move, but queen f3. And yeah, what to do? Rook here. And you can try to make your rook active, but this is walking. This is just walking. Yeah, this is just not playable at all. Even though if I would have blundered, that would be fine. The only thing I'm just still struggling to comprehend is this position where I don't get how we are winning. I literally don't get it. Because this is definitely not good because of g4. That I understood. Maybe now it's the time to play this. f6. And where does the knight go? The knight is trapped. Yeah, f6. So many f6 moves were missed today. Yeah, that concludes the game. We analyzed every position, we looked for the better moves, and it was still quite a decent game. f6 definitely something to keep in mind. Even though it looks so bad, it is actually very, very good. Ben Feingold always says, never play f6. Well, always consider it. Always consider it when there's a knight on e5. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.